Welcome to our monthly Gita lessons and discussions class. Thank you, Meghna, for hosting again. And we are going to start with the fourth chapter now, but I see some new faces. So I want to know how many of you are coming for the first time for these classes. 1, 2, keep your hands up. I just want to get a feel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Thank you. So we'll have to summarize what we've done so far. How many sessions we have had so far? 12? 9. So today is the 10th session. So what we have done in those 9 sessions, we'll summarize in 5 minutes. So that you know what's happening in the Bhagavad Gita discussions. So there are 700 shlokas in the Gita. And Bhagavad Gita is divided into 18 chapters. And there are many amazing life lessons in the Bhagavad Gita. So I'll spend the next few minutes, because I see many new people today. I'm going to spend a few minutes summarizing what we've done in the first 3 chapters. So that from the 4th chapter, we are all on the same page. Is that okay? So the first chapter begins with, first chapter of the Gita, Lord Krishna doesn't speak anything. He's only listening. So empathic communication principle is what? Listening. We need to listen. So Krishna is the best listener. He doesn't give any gyan to Arjuna. And Arjuna is giving so many excuses for not fighting the war. He is vulnerable. But see, Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana and Arjuna, all 3 characters come out in the first chapter. All 3 of them come out as very attached. And because of this material attachment, they are fearful, insecure. But Arjuna is the best of the 3 because Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana pretend to be not having material attachment and fear. They put up a brave front. In fact, Duryodhana is very diplomatic. In the first 20 verses, we see Duryodhana speaking very diplomatically and duplicitously with Dronacharya, Bhishma. And Dhritarashtra also, the first verse of the Gita is spoken by Dhritarashtra, where he is also very confused, fearful, attached, but he puts up a brave front. But Arjuna is the best because he is vulnerable and authentic. He cries. The great Kshatriya warrior to cry, battlefield is very unheard of. And he becomes vulnerable and he admits, and he gives many excuses. He gives 5 reasons primarily for not fighting. And then he breaks down and says, I can't fight this war. So we drew parallels when we were studying the first chapter, how many of us are also stuck sometimes in life. We face roadblocks and we are at crossroads where our duties, dharma conflicts, 2 opposing duties, challenges, and then we discussed all that in great detail in the first chapter. And the second chapter begins with Krishna's instructions, and we learnt an acronym to remember the second chapter of the Gita. For that, if your friends ask you, what did you learn in the Gita second chapter, you can always remember this acronym and then summarize the whole second chapter, which consists of 72 verses. So what is the acronym to remember the second chapter of the Gita? Gita, G-I-T-A. So what does the G stand for? Guru means what? What exactly is happening in these first few verses of the second chapter? What does Guru mean here?
He's saying that he's ready to be a disciple when
Yes.
he that is verse 7 of chapter 2.
Excellent. Yes. Second chapter, the first G of Guru here.
So Arjuna and Krishna were friends for so long, and only after Arjuna says that I'm ready to be your disciple, then Krishna starts the Gita. Before that, he's not taught anything to him.
Excellent.
So many years of knowing Arjuna.
Beautiful. Excellent. Thank you. So Guru, the first point we discussed, the first lesson that comes out in the Gita is for spiritual knowledge, accepting a Guru and having a relationship beyond friendly discussions is needed. Spiritual knowledge is not transmitted through friendly discussions. It's with the sincere open heart. So that's what Krishna teaches Arjuna. And Arjuna, when he accepts himself as a disciple, then Krishna speaks. That is first G. Then I stands for identity. This is one of the first lessons Krishna imparts to Arjuna, that we are not the body, we are the soul. Just like a car as a driver who maneuvers the car, similarly this body is not functioning on its own. There is an energy called the Atman or the soul. And we discussed in great detail the Atman, the soul, and we discussed the Panchakosha, the different layers that cover the soul. This is GI, and then the T stands for two duties. We all have two duties. One is duties related to this body, and the duties of the soul, the Swadharma and the Sanatan Dharma. And finally, the A stands for Atmaram, which is a self-satisfied soul, because Krishna says that one who is fixed in the identity that he is not the body of the soul is self-satisfied. So then Arjuna asks him, what are the symptoms of a self-satisfied person? Then Krishna explains in great detail. That's the second chapter. Yes.
Can you explain the difference between Sanatana and Swadharma?
Oh, yeah. Swadharma is duty related to the body. Sanatan Dharma is the duty related to the soul, the one who is beyond this. Because duties related to this body are temporary, because they confine us to this life of 60, 70, 80 years. But if I'm not the body, I have an identity other than this body, then there is some duty which I need to perform always, even in the next life. In the sense, I don't belong to this temporary realm. So that soul's duty is called as Sanatan Dharma, eternal. That's why Hinduism is actually known as Sanatan Dharma, because it doesn't talk about simply our temporary situation. It talks about temporary situation and also our sojourn in this material world. So that's the difference. So Gita is the acronym to remember the second chapter. But second chapter, Krishna repeatedly tells Arjuna, fight, 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 get up, fight. Fight with knowledge. So Arjuna is confused. What is this? Krishna is telling me, because in traditional Vedic Dharma, when you are spiritual, or you understand knowledge, spiritual knowledge, then you automatically develop renunciation. It's like you kind of understand that everything is temporary and you leave everything. So Arjuna thinks Krishna is telling me I should have knowledge and I should also fight. I mean, this is appearing contradictory. If I have spiritual knowledge, then I should renounce. And anyway, Arjuna had a plan to leave the battlefield and become a beggar. He gives this proposal to Krishna. And Krishna mocks at him. He says, you can't do this. Because you are going against your nature. So then third chapter is called Karma Yoga. Krishna explains how when we need to do our duties, we can get spiritual perfection by performing our actions. It's not that spirituality is all about withdrawing from the society. So that's the whole third chapter. And to remember the third chapter also, we discussed an acronym. TREE, T-R-E-E. The first T stands for Tyaga, where Krishna explains the principle of renunciation. Tyaga, not exactly giving up the work, but the results of our work. And then we discussed different principles of Karma Yoga, how if we are attached, how the Bhakti flavor in the Bhakti Yoga process that ISKCON follows, we add this flavor of Bhakti or remembering the Lord. And that remembrance of the Lord gives us an exciting way to practice Karma Yoga, where we get attached to a person called Krishna. And because we're attached to that person, it becomes easy not to be attached to the work, but to the person, the Lord. And therefore our works, whatever work we do, we can do it in a detached spirit. So we discussed Tyaga, then the second R, TR, rungs on the yoga ladder. We discussed from Karma Kanda, Sakam Karma Yoga, Nishkam Karma Yoga, then Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and finally Bhakti Yoga. All that is a detailed subject matter, but we've discussed that in the past. TR, after all of this, Arjuna may be Arjuna may be like fully qualified devotee and a perfect spiritualist, and he may not need to fight the war. He's like evolved. Arjuna may present himself as an evolved person. So Krishna presents the third principle here. TREE stands for example. Krishna says you don't need to work, you don't need to fight, but still to set the right example, you should do your duties. So that whole section is where Krishna says even if you're very spiritually evolved, you still need to perform your duty to set the right example for the society. So that was all about leadership, where Krishna explains the importance of setting the right example. And the last E stands for eternal enemy, the lust. Because Arjuna, after hearing the whole Karma Yoga chapter, he says, Krishna, I understand all of this, but still I'm impelled to do certain things which I don't want to do. And then Krishna gives a very serious discourse on lust and how an obsession can destroy. I think the last class we discussed lot of stories on lust from Mahabharata and all of that. So third chapter is over now. Now what has happened, interestingly, second chapter and third chapter, Krishna repeatedly said, do your duty with knowledge. Fight with knowledge. Knowledge, fight, duty, knowledge. So what exactly is that knowledge? That knowledge is the fourth chapter. Transcendental knowledge is the fourth chapter. Third chapter was Karma Yoga. Fifth chapter is also Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Again, it's Karma Yoga. Fourth chapter is called Karma Jnana Sannyasa Yoga. There is knowledge introduced here. What exactly is that knowledge? And fourth chapter is going to be very exciting because from fourth chapter onwards, Krishna is going to repeatedly and emphatically speak about the bhakti element, which is one of the most powerful factors repeatedly mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. Every chapter, even in the chapters of dhyan, meditation, knowledge, everywhere Krishna speaks about the need to love him. So we are going to discuss from fourth chapter onwards, the bhakti element is going to come more often in the study of the Gita. And fourth chapter can also be remembered with an acronym. And that is EARS, EARS. Now all of this has been made by one of my very dear friends, His Holiness Srila Swayam Bhagwan Keshav Swami Maharaj, who is a sannyasi, UK based. And he's my very dear friend, and he studied Gita very deeply, and he shared all of these acronyms for each chapter. And it's very useful for us to teach it to people. So EARS is very interesting acronym because knowledge in the Vedic tradition is, spiritual knowledge is acquired through the process of Shravanam. Shravanam means hearing, listening. So the acronym fits well in this chapter. EARS, EARS. Now before we dive into what this EARS, E stands for and all of that, that we'll do it a little later. But we need to do something before that because Shravanam is important. Yesterday Meghna was telling me that we need to also, because we've been having so many classes, we need to go deeper and know what we have learned or practiced from what we have studied in the last 9 classes. So I'll briefly share the process of knowledge in Vedic culture. See if it resonates with you, especially spiritual knowledge, and then we'll be able to dive into the fourth chapter with more clarity. For the first step of getting spiritual realizations in Sanatana Dharma is Shravanam. Shravanam means hear. Now this hearing also refers to study. Because when you're studying also, in one sense, you are taking it in. So there is a generic term for this is Shravanam. So we access a higher intelligence. It's not that we abandon our intelligence. It's not that we don't ask questions. It's just that we trust a source beyond our own intelligence and mind, because our mind and intelligence can be contaminated because of the false ego. So we trust a higher intelligence and allow that intelligence to influence us. With an open heart, we receive this knowledge. That is called Shravanam. Hearing or studying. But this is just the first step. Unfortunately, many of us are stuck here. We may remember all the acronyms for the first 3 chapters. We may know everything, but it's all only study and hearing. Hearing is the first step, but there is something more. After hearing, Shravanam comes Mananam. Mananam means reflection, because reflection leads to learning. There is a very big difference between hearing and learning. So I don't ask people, so you went for the class today, what did you hear? I don't ask that question. I ask them, what did you learn? There is a difference between hearing and learning. Hearing is the subject matter enters one ear and then it comes out of ear. That is hearing. But when we are learning, what happens? It enters the ear, then it doesn't come out. It goes somewhere inside, and from there, it directs our lives, it guides us, it protects us, it becomes our best friend. So when knowledge comes to the ear, it's called Shravanam. If it goes out, it's come in, but it's gone out. It's Shravanam, simple Shravanam. But if it stays inside, then that Shravanam becomes Mananam. If it directs you, guides you, protects you, becomes your friend, and you start reflecting on that knowledge. That is the difference between hearing and learning. But Vedic tradition takes us to the third step. Simply hearing and learning is not sufficient. Hearing, learning, and then there is what is called as Nididhyasanam. Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam. Nidhi, Nidhi is a name. Dhyasanam, Nididhyasanam means applying. Hearing, learning, and application. So application is what? Basically Nididhyasanam is deeper contemplation. Mananam is reflection. When you reflect deeply about applying it in your personal life, then it becomes Nididhyasanam or application. If you read a lot, let's say this much, but you've learned only this much, that's okay. And within what you've learned, if you apply even one drop, that's much, much more useful. Applying something because you actually moving forward. We have a saying in our tradition, we say, as a spiritual practitioner, either you are green and you grow, or you ripe and rot. You have two choices. Mango season now. The mango is green, it's growing. But if it has become ripe, then its journey to rot has begun. So if you say, I'm a spiritually evolved person, I've been practicing for 25 years now, I'm very evolved, I know all this. I know the Gita, I've read it so many times, and I understand. I'm a mystic, I'm a great spiritualist. I have nothing to know from any scriptures. Then you are ripe, but you may start rotting. But we in ISKCON, we always cultivate the mood of being a student. So we want to be green, because then you are growing. So application, when Nididhyasanam comes into play, you are in the growing phase. You are always growing. Like I always carry this Bhagavad Gita with me. And today I was just reading the 4th chapter verses. Okay, we have to start. So again, reflection, contemplation, writing my journal on the 4th chapter. Today I wrote 2 pages on the first 10 verses of the Gita, 4th chapter. And I was amazed. I had never understood the Gita like this in the last 25 years. I mean, I have spoken on the 4th chapter, first 10 verses many times. But today I wrote a completely different essay on the 10 verses. So I was happy. Oh, I'm growing. So that is needed, because then your intelligence is always sharpened and you are alert, you are growing. And that sense of growth keeps you very happy. That is called Nididhyasanam. Is that clear? There are many people who hear, but they don't focus on learning. There are many YouTube videos, professional motivational speakers, spiritualists. We hear their videos. It's very good spiritual entertainment. Hearing without reflection is entertainment, or at best ritual. There are many people who come for classes, and you see in those YouTube, there will see a lot of Bhagavad Saptas happening in Vrindavan, Ayodhya. People attend, and it's like pious, spiritual, social gathering, entertainment. And you'll see people crying also. अच्छा लगा, पर जीवन में कुछ बदलाव नहीं आया. Suna. So anyway, that is hearing without reflection can be a ritual or entertainment. And sometimes there is reflection, but no hearing. That is simply speculation. That is good. Speculation is good, but there can be dangerous speculation also, because our mind and intelligence, if it is corrupted by the false ego, then you can land up doing horrible kind of speculation. There was one Raman Raghav in Dadar. When I was a kid, I'd heard this story. He would kill people on the Dadar bridge with a big stone. And when he was finally apprehended and he was presented before the court, he said, the Lord in the heart. He quoted Bhagavad Gita verses. He said, the Lord inspired me. So speculation. Shastra Sunani. Hitler's right-hand man, Himmler, he used to carry Gita like this in his pocket. He said, Hitler is Krishna, I am Arjuna. And Jews, we are not killing them. He absolved himself of the crime of killing 6 million Jews, saying that they are not the body anyway, they are the soul. We are all eternal. So you can be a great philosopher, but if you are not grounded on higher wisdom, then your mind can play havoc. And intelligence is greater than mind, but unfortunately, when intelligence is not purified with spiritual intelligence, then intelligence becomes a slave of the mind. We discussed that, the false ego, mind intelligence dynamics in the past, how there is a mafia boss, the don, the false ego, and he has two agents, two bodyguards, all that we've discussed in the past. But the point I'm saying is, hearing without reflection is entertainment or ritual. And reflection without hearing is speculation. So all three are needed: hearing, learning, reflection, and application. But in our Vedic tradition, the Bhakti Yoga tradition, we add the fourth element. What is the first called in Sanskrit? Shravanam. Second, Mananam. Third, Nididhyasanam. And the fourth is called Vandanam. Vandanam means a culture of prayer. We have this culture where we come in front of the Lord. You could have a small altar in your own house where we offer our heart, Krishna, Vishnu, God, Lord Ram, whoever is your favorite deity. I love you. I want to offer my life to you. I want to serve you. I want to serve everyone. So when we have this culture of prayers where we want to offer our life as a service, then what happens is the Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam becomes smooth. It's like a lubricant. It helps us to digest all that we have studied, and it helps us to lead a wholesome life. It helps us to add value to the society. It helps us to practice compassion. See, it's like this. Shravanam is like lighting a fire. Spiritual fire. Shravanam is like a spiritual fire. Mananam is like protecting that fire from wind. Like it's not allowing it to get extinguished. बचाओ उसको, बचाओ. Mananam. क्योंकि वो निकल नहीं रहा है. आग तो लग गया. When we hear sometimes the classes, it's like, wow, it's amazing. But because we are living in a dopamine age, we are like, we want to hear more. We want more hits. So we hear something more entertaining rather than stopping and digesting what we just now heard. So when we do reflection, we are like protecting that flame from getting extinguished. Please understand, this is very important. And Nididhyasanam is when you see that flame, that fire become a blazing fire. That drive in you for spiritual perfection becomes intense when you are practicing Nididhyasana. And Vandanam is when that blazing fire burns to ashes all the dry grasses like reactions of a past work. And all the negativity gets burned to ashes. So that's how all the four processes work in study of scriptures. See, I'm saying all of this because when we start the fourth chapter, right at the beginning, Krishna says, this transcendental knowledge I'm sharing with you, Arjuna, only because you are my devotee. Bhaktosi me sakha cheti rahasyam etad uttamam. Krishna says, Sa evam mayatedya yoga prukta puratana. Arjuna, I'm telling you all of this because you are my bhakta, you are my sakha. Because this is rahasyam uttamam. This is the top secret. Not everyone can understand this. So it's important to have that mood of a devotee and a friend of the Lord, which means humility to hear, learn, apply, and pray. It's very, very important actually. This mood, spirit of wanting to hear in that mood is very, very important. So now my question to all of those who have come, those who have come for the first time, this question is not for you. But those who have come for the last so many weeks, some of you have come for all the 10 sessions. I want to ask you, what have you heard all these 10 sessions? I don't want to ask you that because I know you have heard a lot of things. The acronyms you remember, all that is hearing. I'm asking you, what have you learned in the last 10 sessions or what have you applied in your life? Is there anything that you would like to share from the last 9 sessions that you have not heard but you have learned from these sessions or applied in your life? If any one of you would like to share, maybe we can begin with Meghna. Want to share? What have you learned or applied in your life over the last 9 sessions?
The last class, Prabhuji, where we spoke about how your values need to match your goals.
Yeah.
So you're more aligned as a person. So one of my major negatives, I would say, is not knowing how to say no to someone. So the minute I started applying, why am I doing what I'm doing? Am I keeping Krishna in the center? Am I doing it with a service attitude? Or, so the minute I started doing that, I feel like there's been a shift of strength, a shift of clarity and empowerment. So that's my adaptation.
So you are applied or learned something from those 9 classes. Thank you so much. Values and goals. I think the last class we discussed in great detail about the difference between values and goals and how the society is driven by goals, but how if we make values as the center, how we actually get more results. Thank you. Anybody else has learned anything from these 9 sessions? Yes. Art of listening. सुनने की सहन शक्ति बढ़ गई. तो ये आप भगवान कृष्ण जैसा हो गए. जैसे लाइक ही प्रैक्टिस लिसनिंग, ही ऑल्सो लिसन. ग्रेट. मेरी आवाज़ सुनो. सबका यही नीड है. Yesterday I was talking to one of my friends who are, was staying in abroad, and we had a Zoom call. This couple, the only complaint this wife had, he doesn't listen to me. And he's like, I want to give a solution. He just wants to fix things, and she doesn't want solutions. She has better solutions in mind. She says, just listen to me. तो ये listening वाला जो है, thank you for sharing this. Yes. Kabir, na? Yeah. Yes. Okay.
Class there is a deep curiosity and also a lot of questions, of course. And a lot of whenever I go back to a lot of questions, of course, if I'm tiny space, but yes, I briefly reflect on this specific part of करते हुए
अकर्ता
का भाव रोज की जिंदगी में कैसे आए.
ब्यूटीफुल.
और लास्ट सेशन में सेवा का भाव made me think कि मैं जो कर रहा हूँ क्या वो सच में सेवा है, कि वो सेवा के भाव में भी वो कर्ता भाव है जो मन is identified.
Beautiful.
Even if you're doing good work, but still it could be good satisfaction.
Yes.
Made me reflect that.
Beautiful. Thank you. Actually, this questions rising in the mind after Gita sessions is a very healthy sign. And I'll tell you one technique. If all these questions that come up, and if you're also hearing consistently, these questions that are coming up is a sign that you're doing mananam. Just put those questions on paper, and you'll be amazed that as you write the journal of just writing your questions, you will find answers to those questions. It's like generally people write because they want to share with the world what they know. But when you practice writing as mananam, you will practice writing not for sharing with the world what you know. You'll be practicing writing to discover what you know. Many of us don't know what we know. Many of us, we have a very poor estimation of our own spiritual aspect of our lives. But when you start writing, whenever I write, I feel a sense of, not in a negative sense, but a sense, in a positive sense, a sense of pride and happiness that, oh, I know this. I didn't know that I knew this. So these questions, you will get answers, and you will be amazed by the answers you discover. This is just a humble suggestion. Thank you. Anybody else would like to share? Yes.
I think today it's been 100 days since I started journaling every day.
Wow, 100 days.
Yeah, I think
Wow. Thank you so much. Journaling. Yeah,
I think I have a lot of mental clarity now.
thank you so much for giving me this because I write journals sometimes for hours, and I'm like wondering, I want to share this with the world because that's me. And when somebody says that he's been journaling, Oh, I feel like I met a family member. Yeah. Thank you for sharing this. Journaling is an amazing tool. I did a 4-hour workshop recently. This was in London. And 15 of them were absolutely new. After this workshop, they are now coming to the temple regularly. They started chanting 4 rounds of Hare Krishna because they're seeing a benefit. They're seeing the benefits of journaling, how it's helping them. Thank you for sharing this. The best news I've heard today. Anything else? Anybody? You are sure? I'm sorry we are going a little more on this because I want to make this very clear that when we go back from this class, please don't go back having heard something. See if you can learn something from this and if you can apply something from this. So that, is that okay? Meghna, we spend a few more minutes on this because this 4th chapter, because once we dive into the chapter, you'll be amazed by the knowledge that Krishna is going to give. Krishna is going to speak about how he's spoken this knowledge millions of years ago, and you'll be like, what? Remember in the third, before I ask you to speak, in the 3rd chapter, Krishna spoke about lust. After hearing that.
So I was there for the last class. We were talking about lust. We talked about that. It's like you are going to a precipice, and when you're climbing, it's easy to stop. But once you reach the edge of the precipice and you start falling, then it's impossible to stop.
Yes.
So that is how lust is, and
Beautiful.
that is how we have to catch ourselves very early on.
Yes. Thank you for remembering this. It's like on the edge of the cliff, till you go to the edge of the cliff, you can check yourself. But once you're falling, you can't say, I want to go back. So lust is like that. Your intelligence can be active and it can help you to a certain point. But once lust takes over and all the intelligence gets clouded and we are helpless. Anyway, thank you for sharing that. So when we hear that lust, you may think, what did Krishna speak just now in the 3rd chapter? Did he just speak this, something he just pulled out of his hat, something he just spoke randomly? No. In the 4th chapter, Krishna says, Arjuna, what I spoke to you just now about lust, I had spoken that to sun god Vivashwan. I had spoken it to Ikshvaku, Manu. It's like, it's like if you imagine a young boy saying that, oh, I spoke this knowledge to Shivaji Maharaj and I had spoken it to Abraham Lincoln also. You will think, hey, how old are you? Right? So Krishna tells Arjuna and Krishna are friends. They are of the same age, 125 years old during the battle of Kurukshetra. And they are same age. And Krishna is saying very nonchalantly that I spoke this knowledge to. And Arjuna is like surprised. What? I thought we are the same age. Then Krishna says, no, Arjuna, we're both eternal. We've taken many births. But I remember everything. You do not. Because there is a difference. And now you will understand what I'm going to say because you are my devotee and friend. So now when Krishna is going to speak this, we need to know what is hearing, learning, applying and praying. So that's why I'm spending a little more time on this, even though we are not, we can call today's session as introduction to the 4th chapter rather than actually dive into the 4th chapter. Yes, we'll share one.
So when you start to work or apply things, like you're not only hearing, but you're also hearing a lot of chatter in your own head. So then when you are trying to apply it, so it's kind of a mixture, and that mixture is includes a lot of negative and tendencies also, which is diluted. So but then this bhav of seva, of offering, that okay, if I have to offer this particular thing, I need to kind of pick and choose the right thing, which is going to be
which is offerable, okay, which I can offer.
So naturally, when I journal, I also journal. So I write down things which are not important right now, or what is offerable, and then that helps me to kind of take it.
Beautiful.
And then to offer. So
yes.
Then I realized, okay, there's so much unwanted things I was thinking.
Yes.
So which is not.
Yeah, I think removes the muddle.
Yes.
Yeah, when you write.
Yeah, you offload it.
This is called as, what you're doing is called as free writing, one of the techniques of journaling. Just write whatever comes. Yes, thank you. So I'll expect every class that we'll begin with, today we did a little longer, but every class we'll spend first 5 minutes where some of you, if you have learned something from the previous session and applied it, you can share. So from today's class, what you could apply is, when you hear any spiritual talk for the next 1 month, you could see if you can get some lessons out of it. What I follow is a technique called as like, learn, live by, or remember, relish and resolve. So what I do, I hear some class or I study something. After studying, I keep it aside. Then I follow these 3 steps. First, what do I remember from this? What I read or heard? 1, 2, these are all the things I remember. Then what did I relish? What did I really like? Something stood out. Then I zoom into it. I unzip it. I get deep into it. That is what I relished. At the end of that relish session, then I take a deep breath. Then what can I resolve in my life? What can I do? How can I make my life better from what I heard? This is what I do. Like every day I hear one class at least, or I either live class or I read for half an hour scriptures. And after that I do this exercise. I write 1 page of essay on what I heard or read. And it's amazing how you feel fulfilled and you get more, you can feel you're growing. Okay? So I'll stop here, and now I'm going to speak about the second aspect, because also now from 4th chapter onwards you'll hear this many times. Krishna is going to speak about chanting. So Bhakti Yoga is based on a triangle of 3 things. Hearing, which we just now discussed. Second is service, which we've been discussing over the past many months. And third is chanting. We chant the holy names, like you must have seen Hare Krishna devotees chanting with their beats. And sometimes people are confused and bewildered, what exactly is this? They chant sometimes for hours, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And you think, I could be doing something practical. What is all this? And you see many of them are distracted also. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, sometimes they are dozing off. And sometimes they are like, Hare Krishna, intensely chanting. So it's an amazing subject matter. But I will spare you all the details now. But I'll just tell you, I'll give you a glimpse of what an ideal Bhakti Yogi does in terms of chanting and why he does it. And see if it makes sense to you. See, I'll repeat, you don't have to do it the way I'm going to tell you now. I'm going to share you some secrets that happen in our monastery and in the life of a serious Bhakti Yoga practitioner. So I've been practicing for 97, so 26 years I've been practicing. And there are people who've been practicing for 50 years. I'm going to share with you what happens in their life in terms of chanting. Listen to this as if you're watching a movie or hearing some story. And then if you like it, you can try it. So Hare Krishna devotees chant for 2 hours every day. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare, like this. So they chant, this beats contain 108 beats. There are 108 beats. When we complete 1 round, then we pull off this counter bead. So we can count. So 1. Then again we continue the second round. So it takes approximately 2 hours. So at the end of it, 16 aa jata hai. We know we have chanted 16. So that's like our minimum quota. So every Hare Krishna devotee who's been practicing for decades will spend almost 2 hours every day on chanting. And you are like, 2 hours? I could be 2 hours doing so many things. I know what you would be doing. You would be on Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. 2 hours. I can say it with full confidence that my giving 2 hours for this chanting has expanded my time. I have more time in my life. I can't explain it in words. Time expands. I can't tell you how, but it does. So 2 hours we chant. Unfortunately, those who don't do it the right way, I'm going to share with you the right way of doing it, so that right at the beginning, once in mathematics, when you start the sum with the wrong step, then the whole answer becomes wrong. But if you get the first step right, so I'm going to share the technique also with you. If you do it wrongly, then the chanting becomes a drag. 2 hours is like, Hare Krishna, and you're not interested in these beats. You are more interested in these beats. You want to finish off. Oh, ho gaya, khatam ho gaya, 16. Then it becomes like a typical Hindu ritual. It's like there is no God there. There is no spiritual there. There's only ritual. It's not spiritual. There is no spirit there. But those who do it the right way, you know what happens? What is the right way? When you're chanting, you don't care about the 16 rounds. You don't care about the 2 hours. You don't care about the past. You don't care about the future. I am listening to only this one mantra that I'm chanting now. I am present and mindful. So externally, you're chanting like this. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. This is what externally is happening. You know what is happening internally? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. This one Maha Mantra, I am going to listen. This one Maha Mantra that I am chanting now. You may think, what time ja raha hai? No. It's seamless. it takes half microsecond for you to make a sankalpa. This is called sankalpa, an affirmation that I am going to listen. I am listening not to the whole round or the whole 16 rounds. No, I am not present for the entire day. I am present now. This one mantra. So when you do that, you are touching, your mind is touching the transcendental sound. And then that does magic in your heart. You actually start, when you listen to the holy name, Kali Kale Nama Rupe Krishna Avatar. The scriptures explain that in the age of Kali, the Lord incarnates in the form of his name. So when you are listening to the holy name, you are actually listening to the Lord. Imagine Krishna is next to you and he's telling you something and you listen to him. You know what it means? It's like you're listening to the Lord. Till now, we're not listening to Krishna. We are listening to the person on our left side. The giant 10-foot tall mind, the combination of mind, intelligence, ego. And we are like, yes, sir, yes, sir. We are just following whatever he's ordering. But on our right side is our higher self, the universe, the consciousness, Krishna, God. He's also wanting to tell us something. But when we listen to the holy name, it's like neck is turning from left to the right. And then it's a beautiful journey. We hear the Lord in the heart. And then 2 hours, आपको समझ में नहीं आता 2 घंटा कैसे चला गया? Again, the goal is not to hear all the 16 rounds or all the 108 mantras, just one mantra. And if you do it like this, this is the secret. Being present, mindful. This is the technique. If you are just present, listening to the mantra,
Should we chant loudly? Should we chant in your mind? Should we chant softly? How should we chant the mantra?
as loud as you could hear, without disturbing others.
Mind, it should be loudly. Means you should be able to hear what you are
Yeah, because if you just keep quiet and say, mind will run everywhere. It's just whispering, good softly whisper, Hare Krishna. Hare. See, it's like, the horses, you need reins. You can't just sit on the horse and the mind is like a horse. It will just run everywhere. You just need to hold it. So these beads and the pronunciation helps. Vairagena. Guyate. Yes, thank you. 6.26. Yes, you know the 6th chapter of Gita. Thank you. So mind is chanchal. That's why I've named my mind in my journal as chanchal. So when I write journal, I always refer to my mind in the feminine gender. I say, like when I'm writing, I write like this. I begin like this. I love you, Krishna. And I feel it's not from the heart. It's not from the heart because I'm not present. I'm listening to chanchal. So then I immediately say, why didn't I say, when I said I love you, why wasn't there no feeling? Why was there not an ecstasy? Because I wasn't speaking to the Lord. It was my mind. So then I pause. I say, okay, Chanchal. So Chanchal is now saying, get up and go to the washroom. Chanchal is now saying, please check your WhatsApp. So whatever my mind is saying, I just write it without judging. Just like a video camera is observing me now, I just observe what the mind is saying without judgment. And at some point of time, the mind, because it's apprehended, suddenly keeps quiet. Like an angry spouse. Kuch nahi bolna hai. So when the mind is quiet, that's your chance. Then I say, I love you, Krishna. And that's different than the first I love you I wrote. I can see clearly a difference. Do you get what I'm saying? Because when the mind is quiet, it's your soul which has awakened. Wow, that experience is indescribable. I've seen so many times I'm writing, first it's like a ritual. Krishna, I really want to serve your devotees. I want to become pure. I want to give my life for service. It's like, dil se nahi bol raha hu main. But then I say, hey, wait, kya ho raha hai? Something is wrong. Then okay, Chanchal. And I read everything she's saying. And now suddenly she's quiet. And that's my chance. I turn to Krishna. Krishna, I really want to serve your devotees. And I see that's coming from the real I. And then I'm like, alagi level pe. So can you do this? Can you try this and share with your realizations next time? Or if you're too excited, you can share with Meghna and Meghna can tell me over the next 1 month. Because I really want to be there for you in your spiritual journey. Because I'm convinced with all my flaws, all my inadequacies, all my slips and struggles and embarrassments that I've gone through in the last 25 years, I'm so glad I'm here. I'm so happy because I've experienced Krishna. Now I'm going to tell you a couple of stories at the risk of sounding very pompous and self-realized. I'm a very ordinary person, but still, there are those occasions when you get a spiritual glimpse. I'm going to share that with you so that you get confidence to chant like this. What I shared, chanting and journaling. So what happens, I'll tell you, when you chant every day. Now we chant for 2 hours. Again, you don't have to chant you can begin with 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or you can say, I'll chant 1 round every day, or 2 rounds. 2 rounds will take you 15 minutes. But I'll tell you what happens to me because I'm chanting 16 rounds every day and trying to be attentive. You know what happens? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Then I suddenly, at one point of time, my mind is wandering everywhere. But because I persist, like I'm not getting up and checking my WhatsApp. I persist. I stay with the holy name, although the mind is wandering. At some point of time, I become aware. Like right now, I shared with you mind and Krishna. That's awareness. And then you know what happens after awareness? You go to the next level. You come to a stage, you start accepting the mind's proposals without judging. ठीक है Baba. Because you can't. Generally, what we do when we become aware, we either neglect the awareness, or we fight with it, or we change the situation. But acceptance is going deeper. Acceptance is like, okay, ये mind है, कुछ नहीं कर सकते. And then I've realized that you go to the next level. You allow the mind to be what it is. Because you do whatever you want, the mind is going to be incorrigible. I say success in bhakti is not to control the mind. Success in bhakti is to become aware of the mind and to allow the mind to be what it is. But I am not the mind. For the 4th A is very important. Don't act on what the mind says. So what happens when I chant? First I begin with aspiration. What is the aspiration? Next 2 hours or next half an hour, I'm going to chant. This is aspiration. Then when you do it with this technique, this secret of being present, then you become aware. Awareness, then you go to the next step, which is acceptance. Acceptance is, awareness is a gift that you get from God because of your sattva practices. Acceptance is difficult. To accept that you are not so advanced, or to accept that your mind is running everywhere. And allowing is a game changer. You allow the mind to be what it is. And the last is, you don't act on what the mind is saying. So you continue to sit. Aspiration, then awareness, acceptance, allowing, and 5th is act. No, avoid acting on what the mind is saying. Then what happens? You actually see Krishna. You actually see the Lord in your life, manifesting so many magics. Every day I have a journal entry called, how did God show up today? Initially, for once in 5 or 6 days, I would write 1 point. Now, every day I have 5-6 points to write. Because God shows up in amazing ways. But we are not able to realize it. I'll give an example. Okay, I was traveling. Now, in the Western countries, in these lounges, airports, they don't serve Indian food. But I was surprised in Texas, cowboy state. And I love this lounge access because I get my private space. I have my journal, I can sit. I don't access the lounge for food, but for the writing. What happened? Did I say something inappropriate?
Oh, they like to say something happened, and I was just like, I hope
Oh, I thought I said something inappropriate.
yeah.
So one kind devotee made some system in my, he made something, and now I have a card by which I just have to give the card and press some code, and then I get access, and I sit and I write and I chant. But on this particular day, as luck would have it, I didn't get my private space. It was very crowded. So I got a seat just next to the food table. And my value systems don't allow me to eat that food. I'm not against that. But then Texas, American लोग क्या खाते रहेंगे? छी, मेरे को तो नहीं खाना है. But then unfortunately for me, I am seeing right in front of me idli and medu vada. I'm like, medu vada. And I'm a South Indian, grew up eating idli, vada and dosa the whole life. And now I'm chanting now. The first thing my mind says, medu vada, I want medu vada. And now I'm not going to act on this, obviously, because if I eat that medu vada, I would be betraying my values big time. it's completely against my value. So I would definitely not eat it. But then I'm like, okay, Chanchal, you want Medu Vada? So I'm aware now. Aware. And then I accept. It's okay, you want it because you've eaten Medu Vada all your life. So this is just a pattern. Because those who studied Yoga Shastras, you will know that our internal system, Antakaran, is made of 4 things. Mana, Buddhi, Ahankara and Chitta. Manas is all your subconscious mind. What we call subconscious mind is Manas. Okay, it's okay. I accept you've eaten Medu Vada, now you want. I allow you to desire Medu Vada. But I am going to listen to the holy name. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So then the mind says, you allow me, so I want Medu Vada now. Yes, I allow you to scream. So I'm aware, accept and allow. Aware, accept and allow, but don't act on what the mind is saying. My aspiration is to listen to the holy name. Remember all the 5 A's. So then I continue chanting. Then the mind, you'll see, thanda ho jata hai. Because just like your partner, if you listen to your partner and understand what your partner is saying, the partner's का आधा tension चला जाता है उधर ही. कम से कम मेरा आवाज़ तो सुना, मेरा pain तो सुना, मुझे समझा. Mind becomes peaceful when you simply acknowledge what the mind is without judging the mind. But then again, after a few minutes, because somebody else took Medu Vada, again the fragrance, I want Medu Vada. I'm aware, I accept, I allow you, and we are going to chant. No, I want it. So what the mind does, when you don't act on what the mind is screaming, then the mind distracts you. Okay, check your WhatsApp now. So again, awareness. Oh, you want to check WhatsApp? I accept your proposal. I allow you to desire to check WhatsApp. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Then again, the mind, okay, now get up and go to the washroom. Mind wants to change. Mind is desperate for control, because when the mind realizes that you're not in the control of the mind will give 100 proposals. That's why people are always on reels, because pakad ke rakhna chahta hai mind aapko. So I'm like aware, accept, allow and don't act. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Ho gaya. So in this entire 2.5 hours of my lounge access, maybe I attracted a lot of curious stares. I don't know. My eyes were closed. Medu Vada smell was coming, idli going on, people are eating. And at least, I would say 5 or 6 times I must have gone through an intense phase where the mind hankered for Medu Vada. But then after some time, thanda ho gaya. And when I opened my eyes, I put an alarm because I have to take a flight. Okay, ho gaya. Great. I coolly walked out. I came. Then I was landing in Houston. Utre udhar. And घर पे गए. And there's a long dining table. Prasad के लिए बैठे. This devotee was serving prasad that Mataji had made Medu Vada. I'm like, and Medu Vada bhi, those who are expert cooks, Medu Vada can be of 2 types. It can be soft, it can be crispy. And I love the crispy type. And this Mataji had made it so crispy, like better than even what my mom makes. And I'm like, I'm dipping into the chutney and sambar, and I'm like, and you know what happened? I'll tell you, wait. Now this is the best part of the story. As I was tasting that Medu Vada, and this Prabhu is serving, and I looked at this Mataji, and then, on the chair here, I felt, even as I'm saying this, I'm having goosebumps, I felt Krishna is looking at, sitting there and smiling at me. See, I arranged for you. Medu Vada. And he's smiling at me. And I actually felt I saw Krishna smiling. I mean, I can't explain it more than this. And then what happened, then I looked here on the left. Chanchal, see, Krishna is so kind. Krishna arranges Medu Vada for you. And the mind is like, yes. And the mind is feasting. Mind is happy. I'm just giving one silly example just to make a point. Like this, you see Krishna every day. Now, you could say this is a coincidence. See, there are a lot of scientific explanations you could give. I'll tell you honestly, at the end of the day, there is no objective reality. It's a reality you have to choose. Whether Arvind Kejriwal is right or Modi is right, you make a choice. You can't get into all this. Every party has their own stories. Ultimately, you'll end up choosing. So I chose, I'm able to make these choices I'm able to see Krishna because I'm able to make the right choices. I'll give another simple example. Ram Navami day, you know what happened? Achha, do you know in Ram Katha, there is a saying in India that, in fact, there is in the scriptures, whenever there is Ram Katha, what happens? Hanumanji comes and sits in the class. Sometimes you see him, sometimes you don't. Anyway, this year Ram Navami class was given by one amazing devotee in our temple, Radha Gopinath Prabhu, who has been in the temple monastery since 1988. He's a sadhu, genuine sadhu. He has no possessions. He is my mentor. and I need to talk to him or see him every day. He's such an amazing sadhu, one in a billion. And a simple room, he does his bhajan sadhana. And he gave a class on Ram Navami. The class ended at 10 in the night. It was late night. And Ram Navami spoke from Sundarkand. He spoke on glories of Lord Hanuman. The class got over, and then he came to the room. It was late. We couldn't talk. And generally morning he gets up by 4 and 5 o'clock he's in the temple hall for chanting. But something happened, and then at 7 he was in his room in the morning. And at 7 I had a meeting outside my room, which is next to his room. We have a dining table there, which is the top floor of our building. And we were having a meeting with one devotee, a friend of mine. And at 7 in the morning, from the terrace, the terrace is completely blocked with a net. No birds or animals can come inside. Like we have a net. It's comfortable. And we are shocked. I and Baldev Prabhu are talking from the steps, from the terrace. A giant monkey walks down. Giant. Giant means normal monkey से थोड़ा बड़ा. मैं थोड़ा exaggerate कर रहा हूँ. Giant. So बड़ा monkey. Last 25 years in the ashram, I've never seen a monkey. And this monkey walks down. Coolly, आराम से नीचे आता है. 7 बजे सुबह. And my first thought was, अरे बंदर की ऐसी कितनी सी बंदर आ गया मेरे रूम में आ जाएगा. तो I removed my chappals. मेरे को समझा नहीं हनुमान जी आए. And then this monkey looks at me. You are not supposed to make eye contact with monkeys. So I looked the other way. Chappal नीचे रखा, डर गया. I again picked up the chappal, and the monkey walks comfortably, walks past both of us, walks straight. And now the monkey doesn't know I'm following him. Chappal leke, monkey going, and monkey stops. Right side, he looks. Radha Gopinath Prabhu's room is open. He looks at Radha Gopinath Prabhu, raises his what? What is this called? Claws, paws, जो भी है, उसको ऐसा उठाता है. And now I'm adding little bit. वो ऐसा thumbs up भी दिया रहेगा. Because the previous night, Prabhu had given a fantastic class. And because it was late night, Hanumanji must have gone to sleep. And now morning, he's come at 7 in the morning to tell him it's a great class. And then he could have gone ahead, because ahead is Gaur Gopal Prabhu's room and there's another brahmachari's room. We are all staying in the same floor. He could have gone and explored the whole pantry, the whole ashram. But he decides to turn back. And at that moment, Eureka, I realized, Arre baapre, Hanuman ji aa gaye. And I put my chappal down, and the monkey walks up to me, and मेरा जो calf muscles है, उसको ऐसा एक टपली दिया. Chill man, don't be so excited, ऐसा आराम से मेरे को मार के, again he climbs the stairs and disappears. And I told Baldev Prabhu, do you realize what has happened? He's also in the ashram since 25 years. Have you ever seen a monkey here? We ran to Radha Gopala Prabhu, what just happened? Hanuman ji has come to acknowledge your yesterday's class. And immediately, he's a humble sadhu. Hey, नहीं, वो गवर्नर बंगलो से आया. I said, अच्छा, आप 35 साल से इधर हैं. कितनी बार आया गवर्नर बंगलो से? कितनी बार देखा आपने? पहली बार. Very sheepishly said, पहली बार देखा मैंने. So in 35 years, first time he's seen a monkey. And I said, गवर्नर बंगलो से आया तो इतना सारा बिल्डिंग इधर ही क्यों आया? और आज के दिन ही क्यों आया? सुबह ही क्यों आया? और इधर ही क्यों रुका? आगे क्यों नहीं गया? I have so many logical answers, points to say. He had no answers for it. And then he kept his head down. I said, Hanuman ji aaye. Aapka class bahut acha laga unko. Now, whether this is true or not, that's besides the point. Now, look at my consciousness. Now, because of my chanting every day, trying to be attentive, I could see some spirituality here. Now, whether that is right or wrong, that's besides the point. What has happened to me after that is I became anyway, I love Ramayana more than Bhagavatam. Although I'm a Krishna devotee, I do Ramayana seminars all the time. So anyway, so Ramayana is my favorite scripture. And my faith in Ramayana became more because of this incident. And Hanuman ji के प्रति प्यार और बढ़ गया. और हमारे मंदिर में हनुमान जी का DT है टेम्पल हॉल में. तो I started looking at Hanuman ji. Thank you Hanuman ji, आप आए, दर्शन दिए, thank you. So I became more Hanuman conscious. And the best part was Radha Gopinath Prabhu and myself, we are part of the same management team, temple council. I suddenly started looking at him as someone who's very dear to Lord Hanuman. So then my love for him, my appreciation for him increased. So why am I saying all this story? I hope you got the point. Ki when we practice the culture of having an aspiration and not acting on the mind's whims, but instead being aware, accept and allow the mind to be what it is, especially when we chant for 2 hours every day, you learn to see God in your day-to-day life. For that you need effort. You need to spend 2 hours every day Not 2 hours, at least 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You begin with something. See, don't think spirituality is easy. Easy experiences are initial, but then effort is a middle part, and then there is real experience. Easy, effort, and experience. Effort ko aap, you can't circumvent it. Effort is, any spiritual discipline is needed. I'll give one simple example and I'll end with this, then we can take some questions. See, I'll give an example. I have one more practice called as appreciation and blessing journal, where I pray for others. I think I've shared that here. We've done that in the past. So I write a name and then I write Krishna, please. Then I write a prayer for that person, or I appreciate that person, because I went through a phase in my life where I became very cynical and critical of people. I have a very deadly fault finding mentality. I can catch people doing wrong immediately. And it was my scourge. I was really miserable. I knew somewhere that I shouldn't be finding faults. So then I started this appreciation journal, when I write something good about others. And sometimes, when I begin this appreciation journal, I'm blank. इच्छा ही नहीं होता लिखने का. Why I should pray for others? Why I should pray for others or appreciate others? I like to pray for myself, but I would force myself to write. Sometimes even when I'm praying for others, I'm like, if I'm writing Rakesh, Krishna, please let him see how good I am. Even if I'm writing a prayer for him, it is for us, about us. But I sincerely did this for 3 weeks, appreciating someone and writing a prayer for them. And it doesn't take more than 3 minutes. 5 people, write 1 sentence for them. Bas. हो गया 5 minutes में हो गया. ऐसे every day I did for 3 weeks. And you know what happened? The 4th week, one day I was standing in the temple during a morning Guru Puja, chanting. There was one devotee doing the Aarti. I looked at him, and suddenly what I did for 3 weeks was, I was trying to think of good in others. I was putting an effort. But now what happened? I was not trying to understand, but understanding came to me. Suddenly, there's a big revelation how this devotee was doing Aarti. All his good qualities just came in my consciousness, and tears started coming from my eyes, and so much love for him I had never experienced. I was like, and my mind started, there's a volcanic eruption of all his good qualities in my heart. And tears, I'm like, what is happening? And then I thought I'll go to the altar. Back is the temple altar. I went and I offered prayers, and there I saw some devotees walking in the altar. Each devotee, all his good qualities were coming out. I was seeing good in everyone, and then looked around everywhere. For the next 1 hour, I was only seeing good everywhere. I was not making any conscious effort to see good. I was in an abundance space. Are you getting what I'm saying? Yes. What has happened here? I didn't put any effort, but this happened because I had done some sincere effort for so many days. This is how Bhakti Yoga works. We chant for 2 hours every day, and then we see Krishna in very unique ways. And there are so many stories every day. Medu Vada was a simple story, but there are other things which I'm unable to share here. But yes.
But that's like working on your muscle memory, right? I mean, keep doing it. Sometimes you get something.
Yes. Understanding, knowing ke liye we do some things, but also there is a space where we need to be B. And it descends. So I'll just pause here. I went on and on and on. So to summarize, we spoke the 4th chapter of the Gita. We summarized 1st, 2nd, 3rd, because many of you were new today. And the 4th chapter, I just gave an acronym, but I didn't elaborate on it. We'll expand it next time. And then I spoke about the process of hearing, service, and chanting, which is the triangle of Bhakti Yoga. Hearing is what we discussed today. Hearing, learning, applying, and prayers. And then hearing is hearing. And then we discussed about service already in the past. And today we discussed about chanting. Chanting has 5 steps. What is first? Aspiration, awareness, acceptance, allowing, and don't act. Remember it like this. Remember a horizontal line. Imagine a horizontal line. At this end we have aspiration, and here we have don't act. And in between there is a triangle. The horizontal line is going to the middle of this triangle, and this triangle is composed of awareness, acceptance, and allow. And the middle of the triangle is the principle of being present or mindful, just being there with the holy name. If we do this, we can see Bhagavad Gita or Krishna as a person, as a real person. Then you can see Hanumanji in a monkey, you can see Krishna in Medu Vada, and there are many other stories. Maybe some other time I'll share. Hare Krishna. I'll pause here. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Sorry for abrupt ending. Generally, every class is like systematic. We cover all the points, and today, but I wanted to just have a free flow. Yeah, तो दिल से बोल दिया जो भी था. Story टेल.
मुझे थोड़ा सा नींद आ रहा था बिगनिंग में, बट देन मेरे माइंड में से था कि अंदर जाके क्या तो गर्म पानी और कॉफी ले लूं, फिर मेरी वाइफ को बोला चाय ले लो, अंदर जाके जाओ. फिर मैंने सोचा नहीं ऐसे उठ के नहीं जाना है, मैं यहीं ध्यान देकर थोड़ा सुनता हूँ, एंड फिर नींद नहीं आ
रही. People say that sometimes when you chant something, it has to be done in the morning and it's a specific time.
This is an interesting question. Chanting should it be done in the morning? Namna makari bahuda nijasarva shaktis tatrarpita niyamita smaranena kala.
Sarvakaleshu sarvatra hari chintana.
Yes, you can do it anytime, all the time. So there are no rules and hard and fast rules. At the same time, early morning is best. Just like when you're driving your car, after 10:30 in the morning, there's a lot of traffic, pom. शाम को तो बहुत ट्रैफिक रहता है और गाड़ी नींद भी आ सकती है चलाते समय. मॉर्निंग को ना गाड़ी स्मूथ चलाता है. मॉर्निंग इट टेक्स यू जस्ट 40 minutes to go from Grant Road to Borivali. Evening it takes 2.5 hours, 3 hours. Similarly, mind, early morning, it's easy to chant 16 rounds in one go. But as the day progresses, the mind starts coming up with so many plans, ideas, things to do. So it's a struggle. But if you can be present any time of the day, that's better than not chanting. Hare Krishna. Yes, Kabir.
Now, my journey started with meditation. So, our mind has a lot of noise. ध्यान में मुझे ये जैसे मैं ध्यान करता गया, अलग अलग विधियाँ करता गया, ये अनुभव हुआ कि जब साइलेंस पहली बार मेरे जीवन में आया, there was no thoughts, तो मुझे वो एक गैप फील हुआ between my thoughts and पहली बार वो glimpse मिला of being a witness, being a watcher. Now, so 8 years, it was pretty clear either you are in the mind or either you are in the no mind state. So whenever I meditate, usually वो फासला जो thoughts का होता है वो थोड़ा दूर जाता है. Then इस दौरान कभी भी मंत्रा या chanting मेरे लाइफ में कभी आया नहीं. Though I was born in a Tamil Brahmin family, but I always felt that chant is something I don't connect because it's not coming from the heart. I always felt, and even as a growing up, बहुत सारे पंडित मेरे घर में आते थे chant करते. Always felt very sleepy or something like that. फिर I joined one community, it's called Dances of Universal Peace, where they chant from different traditions of the world. तब I realized that जब पहली बार मैंने किया तो अब वो ध्यान जो है, then the chant became more like a songs of awakening. तो मुझे अंदर ब्लॉकेज ये भी था, जब मैं देखता था, महसूस करता था, I was always against कि कोई चांट करता है तो उसके पीछे कोई मकसद होता है कि whether it's health related, whether it's business related or something, and I didn't connect with that idea कि अगर इससे मुझे ये मिलेगा तो वो करेगा. Major blockage I had towards chanting is मुझे ऐसा लगता था कि वो होता रहता है. मेरे साइलेंस में वो chanting, I feel that then chant you're also getting identified with the mind. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Yes, I do believe when I chant वो integrate या एकाग्रित करने में मदद होता है, but कोई भी टूल हम एक टाइम पे यूज करते हैं उसके बाद वो टूल की जरूरत नहीं होती. मुझे ऐसा लगा कि अब my mind shouldn't get identified with this particular thing because when I tasted silence, I felt that absolute oneness. But when I एक chant का जो limitation है, तो मुझे ऐसा लगा कि ये काफी टूटा रहता। आज, I mean, I don't know, for me, ever since I joined Kirtan Mumbai, for me it is like the chant is an expression of love, but also जैसे अभी आपने बोला, I'm very curious to know, because मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि when we talked about these 4 or 5 aspects of aspiration, awareness and acceptance, I'm very curious in terms of a science, or I'm trying to understand the whole, what happens to the mind, and if a path, अगर meditation का path है, तो chanting अक्सर ऐसा लगता है कि you get identified with it, तो उसकी ज़रूरत नहीं है, but कहीं ना कहीं when जैसे कीर्तन मूवमेंट होता है, और I to dance, so for me it was more of an expression of surrendering and but when I try to chant, either I'm a state of love, या तो फिर मुझे ऐसा नहीं लगता, अगर किसी ने कहा कि 100 बार कर, मैं 100 बार क्यों करूं?
Correct.
And lot of times, interestingly, I don't feel like अगर कोई chant करे तो मुझे सुनने को अच्छा लगता है.
Correct.
I can close my eyes, जैसे आज सुबह ही I went to Buddhism class, वहाँ पे नमो नमो वहाँ पे chant हो रहा था. Everyone was chanting, and people chant for more than an hour. But when I closed my eyes, I just heard the vibrations. I felt I'm connecting more to the vibrations rather than when
The sound.
I chant. It feels me. मैं बाधा आ रहा हूँ मेरे ही chanting. So I still have little resistance towards when somebody asks to chant.
Japa.
And I want to जो साधक हैं, जो already practice कर रहे हैं ISKCON में, I'm trying to understand how is it helping them to reach the ultimate state of enlightenment, because मुझे अभी भी ऐसा लगता है कि they are limiting themselves, and when I'm seen as an observer, not as a part of study, but मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि यार अगर आप awareness की बात ही कर रहे हो, तो सीधा माइंड को चुप होकर साक्षी भाव में माइंड को क्यों नहीं देख सकते? I'm not talking about the bigness. I'm talking about somebody who is constantly chanting for 5-6 years. आप जब आपका माइंड इंटीग्रेटेड है, आप शांत बैठ के उसको देख क्यों नहीं सकते? तो ये सब चीजें मेरे
Beautiful. Thank you. How much time do we have? Because I can answer this for 2 hours. But 5 minutes? 2 minutes? See the details. I've written a book called, I'm not canvassing my book now.
But Prabhu, I was actually going to say I want to give him the book because the answers in your book.
Yeah.
I've read the book.
Mind Your Mind, you're talking about?
Yeah.
I wrote a book called The Mind Your Mind, published by Ashit. But there's another book which is going to come in July. It's published by Penguin. It's called The Inner Journey. There's a whole chapter on this: awareness, acceptance, allowing, and what is the difference between awareness, acceptance, allowing, and what happens and all of that. So you can read that book when it comes out. But to briefly touch upon this point about, are we limiting ourselves by simply vibrating the mantra? Okay, the Sakshi Bhav, the witness, is I. I'm able to see the mind, right? And there is peace there as an observer. And then you feel holy name was simply a tool that has helped me come here, this state, and now I don't need the holy name. Right? But now is the best part of the story. Now when you're in this state where you have separated yourself from your mind, then when you vibrate holy name, then it's a different experience, because you are now connecting to your higher self. I'm going slow. Initially when you are chanting, you are simply chanting to quieten the mind's chatter. Thanda ho gaya, you are in I state, Turiya state, Turiya, the 4th level, Jagrat, Swapna, Shushupta, and you are the consciousness, peaceful. You are deep asleep when you are awake, and you are deeply awake when you are asleep. मतलब आप एकदम रियलाइज स्टेट में हो. और ये स्टेट में when you vibrate Hare Krishna, the same mantra, it is a different experience because now you are not your turn on the right. And what happens there, that's like, that I cannot share here. It's like it's like a couple who are in love in a public setting, in a social gathering, and in a private space. You and Krishna in private space, and you and Krishna in public space. So during Kirtan, I'm sure Kirtan Mumbai is very graceful, but sometimes in a temple, the Kirtan can become wild. And sometimes so wild, they're playing wampus. I'm talking to someone and I can't hear what he's saying because the noise is so loud. Similarly, I'm praying to Krishna, I can't hear what I'm saying, what Krishna is saying because the mind's noise is loud. But when the mind becomes quiet, then I can hear. Remember I said that paragraph I wrote, I love you, Krishna, I want to serve you. It was all meaningless, but when the mind became quiet, the same sentence meant something else. Similarly, Hare Krishna will mean completely different when your mind is quietened. That's why you need an effort, you need a discipline. I'm okay if you're not practicing Hare Krishna. I'm just saying, ये हमारा science है, इस तरह से work करता है. And the Upanishads explain a very nice story, a cryptic story that may reveal to you the power of chanting. A man had never seen gold. He told the king, I'm dying, I'm very old, I want to see gold. Can I see your treasury? The king told the minister, take him to the treasury, let him see the gold before he dies. So he went and saw the gold coins. But as he was walking towards the treasury, he saw dazzling pillars and stairs and all the rooms. And then he went and he saw the gold coins. He was like, Arey, ye to maine dekha tha abhi. Then he realized the steps and the doors and the pillars are also made of gold. But he had never seen gold, so he didn't know that was gold. But when he saw gold, he realized that was also gold. Okay, तो हमारा कैसा है, अभी हम जो हरे कृष्णा कर रहे हैं, कुछ पाने के लिए कर रहे हैं, मन की शांति के लिए कर रहे हैं. जब मन की शांति मिल जाएगी, तब हम हरे कृष्णा करेंगे, बोलेंगे अरे ये तो बाप रे इतना बड़ा पावरफुल था, ये तो मुझे समझा ही नहीं. मतलब इनिशियली आई चैंटेड हरे कृष्णा बिकॉज आई वांटेड पीस ऑफ माइंड. Now, sometimes I want peace of mind so that I can chant Hare Krishna. Like I want to do some breathing so that then I can sit nicely and chant because I want to be with Krishna. Initially, I thought Hare Krishna chanting will give me happiness. I was chanting with a selfish agenda. Now Hare Krishna chanting is my happiness. There's a difference between chanting Hare Krishna to get happiness and chanting Hare Krishna being the happiness. So, I cannot explain more than this. Words have limitations.
Just the thing, is there a danger in the sense that is there a possibility that mind can get identified with chanting for a long time and that can come in the way of duality?
No. In fact, what will happen is your chitta is like your mirror. You know, your phone has a video camera on. So I see the watch through this video screen. Similarly, the soul is not affected by this material world. The Atman has nothing to do with this world. Atman sees this world through Chitta, which is like the reflective agent. It reflects the world to the soul. So when you chant attentively, what happens? There is Cheto, Darpana, Marjanam. All the impressions in the Chitta, they are washed off. And you see the holy name in its pure form. It's like a breath of fresh air. What you see and experience has got no contamination of your past samskaras and your impressions. It's all washed off. And there, your identity is merged with the holy name. I'm sure you experienced sometimes in Kirtan Mumbai, sometimes Kirtan, you feel that holy name is not coming from outside, it's coming from your heart. That's because your chitta has got cleansed. ऐसा हुआ है ना आपके साथ कभी कीर्तन में? ऐसा लगता है कि चेतो दर्पण मार्जनम. चित्त जो है दर्पण जैसा है और मार्जनम मतलब क्लेंजिंग. Sometimes in the kirtan your identity gets merged with the sound of the holy name. See, I'll tell you something about this mind. I don't want to underestimate your spiritual realization, but I'm just saying there is something very interesting about mind which nobody talks about. We think mind बोलता है, उसको मैं लिखता हूँ, awareness आ गया. Mind says go to washroom, mind says get up, when will the class end? You just write it as it is, you think you have figured out the mind. And you are separate from the mind. But sorry to disappoint you folks, there is something more to it. What the mind says, there is more to the mind than what it says. Okay, I'll give an example. Sometime, like recently, one of my friends in London, he told me something very, very interesting. He said his wife was shouting at him because he comes late from office. And he was thinking, Are, but we had agreed that I have to work extra and earn more money because we have to make some financial planning and thoda sa challenge. So that why is she saying this? So he said, I knew that there is something more. So I didn't take her words seriously. Why are you coming late from office? I didn't fight back. I just heard her more. I listened to her. And after some time I realized our main issue was I'm not helping her in the kitchen because वहाँ पे servants नहीं है, काम वाली बाई नहीं आती है. तो घर को manage करें. Then I said, नहीं, but we had already agreed, we had divided the chores कि I am supposed to take care of the outside, the lawn, and she is supposed to take care of the kitchen. तो फिर भी there is something more. And I kept hearing, and then I realized the main issue was that she is not able to go to India more often. Earlier we were going twice a year, now she's going once in 2 years. She's missing her parents so much. That was the main issue which came out as kitchen में help नहीं करते हो, which came out as office से late आते हो. So it happens with you sometimes when you're talking to someone, you may say you are very nice, but in the mind you're thinking, when will he get lost? Is it possible that you say something and you feel something else? Is it possible? Okay, now here is the best part about the mind. The mind will say many thoughts to you, and you think you are aware of your mind and you're writing it down, and yeah, I figured out the mind. Oh no, my dear friend, there is more buried in the chitta. The past impressions, the samskaras are many. And when you peel off those layers, the sound of the mind, and you touch that lifetimes of impressions, when you touch that, you know what happens? You realize what your driving force is. Fear. For I've realized through my journaling and chanting that I am a bundle of paradoxes. I have fearless spiritual nature, but I also have fear, some insecurities. And it came like a flash. It was revealed to me because I grew up with my grandparents, and my grandfather was a diffident and timid person, very God-fearing. But anyway, all those impressions, everything came out in a flash. So I'm driven by 3 negative energies: fear, approval-seeking behavior, and control freak. And when I realized this, not intellectually, but through repeated awareness of the mind, when I didn't peel it off, it happened to me, when this sound के बाहर जब मैंने चित्त में जो actual है, dirt, वो जब मैंने देखा, that seeing that was equal to it being removed. I was in peace with myself. I said, Krishna, I love you. I am full of insecurities, but I love you. That was a space of self-love. Self-love not in a narcissistic way, but in a space of complete contentment. मैं नालायक हूँ, but मैं अच्छा हूँ. I love you, Krishna. So that was a space. What I'm trying to talk about is, awareness is at 2 levels. One is the level at which we generally perceive awareness, separate ourselves from the mind. But when we chant more, the chitta becomes so cleansed that you actually touch the most sensitive part of your material existence, that fear and that problem which has driven you for so many lifetimes, that which is buried in your chitta for so long. And when that gets peeled off, holy name is Kirtan Mumbai will take you to the next level. You will be like, Kirtan band hoga par aap nachte rahoge. So there is a different relationship with Krishna. I want to stop here. I think we're going on and on and on. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't start the 4th chapter today, but this was needed.
It was very
nourishing. But next class we will surely we'll cover the first 2 sections of the 4th chapter.
2nd June.
Okay. Yes.
So I'm a yoga teacher. So I started my
Sakshi is a yoga teacher, and I am so amazed. She comes to temple sometimes. He came on Akshaya Tritiya day. I see her, I get so encouraged and inspired. She's always blissful, enthusiastic. Yes.
So I initially chanting process was saying that I used to chant to
Calm your mind.
Peace of mind and everything. And then yoga was something I just gave up for a while because I thought Bhakti yoga is the highest. I have to do that. But then there was a huge shift because then I started pulling the chanting thing that's calming me, that's putting me. Actually, yoga used to calm me, declutter my mind, like journaling is also part, like, pranayam and everything we do. And then my chanting became much more better. So I became consistent with my yoga practice now. Even if I wake up 30 minutes extra, like I have to do my Mangal Aarti at 5 at home also. to 4:30, 30 minutes I make sure I do something and then do my chanting and everything. It becomes more like purified practice. And there are days, and it is said that my own yoga teacher last time, like 2-3 years back, I went to Mysore for a course. He told me Ashtanga and this it's a powerful practice, but it's a trap.
Trap.
He told me it's a trap because it makes you feel so good. Kabir was saying that. But it makes you feel so good that you think that you don't need anything. And
Beautiful.
that is
Wow. We should share this with Kabir later. Wow. Amazing point.
That's a very big trap, and I know I make my students realize that because they feel so good after the class, and sometimes even I get tough because mine. So wow, I did my yoga practice in the morning, I did few rounds, later I can do it till late, and then I can chakra healing, everything is done. Students are feeling so amazing, and then we end with Mahamantra chanting. And then as soon as I leave, I say, what do I do? I have to work and all, but I know my chanting is left. So I just keep the work aside. I stop my chant, please calm down, and then I do my chants. And then after few chants, like I do 16 by the first half of the day, and I feel, oh God, this is something which I was missing out. I mean, this is actually really the path of self-realization.
Beautiful.
And what we were doing was just pure, like a reflection of your
Yeah.
good. It's a very big.
Thank you for sharing your candid thoughts. Thank you, Kabir, for churning it and allowing me to open
What
up.
the takeaway is that from today till the next day, I'll try to sit in silence and I'll try to chant from a space of that silence. Let's see how.
Yeah, if you can get your mind to listen to the holy name. See, the whole process is based on Shravanam. You can't just. If you vibrate, it's healthy. If you vibrate little bit, you should be able to listen to the holy name. The key is to listen to the holy name. Because the mind will wander,
I'm saying I'll sit in silence
Okay,
and then I'll try to, after that I will chant.
okay, do that.
So I'll see how
Do that, do that.
it feels.
Yeah, do that. Thank you. Thank you everyone for coming today. Now we'll have Kirtan. Hare Krishna.